Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the newest installment of Open Mic, the show where the mic is open. The floor, as they would say, is yours. What do you guys want to talk about? That is what we are here to discuss. My name, of course, is John Campea. Good to have you guys here. So Open Mic is really just basically a more casual, laid back, just back and forth version of the John Campea show, where really all we do is just take your questions and comments. Now, if you're watching live, and you have to be watching live, and you have a topic, issue, or question you'd like me to address, go ahead and fire it on in to our super chats. That's in the live chat feature there. You can just go ahead and click the super chat button, send in a question, and as long as it's appropriate to be addressed, I'll address it here on the show. Again, unlike other things, this one you actually have to be watching live to send in a question if you want to send one in. So there you have it. Good to have you guys here. I've had a good day. Just planning a whole bunch of, Ann and I are going to go out to a new little wine bar. I don't drink, but they do have charcuterie. Ann and I are going to go check out this new wine bar tonight. I'm pretty excited about that because I'm a charcuterie guy, or as some people call it, shark coochie. I'm a big shark coochie guy. Charcuterie, and I'm excited about trying this new place. Ann likes to have a nice glass of wine, so it's going to be pretty fun. I'm looking forward to it. And then tomorrow night, I am going to go see Predator Badlands. And hey, Adrian James, yes, I'm doing very well. Thank you, Adrian. I appreciate that, man. So I'm going to go see Predator Badlands tomorrow. I did get a press invitation, as I get press invitations a lot, but you guys know for the last 3 or 4 years, I don't go to any press stuff. And somebody asked me again yesterday why I don't go to any press stuff. And there's a couple of reasons I don't go to any press things. One is that I realized going to press stuff has never helped any of my channels. Like that's why back in the AMC days, I stopped going to the press junkets. Like I used to go to all the press junkets, and I started sending other people, but then I would do red carpets, but then I started sending other people. And then I'd go to premieres, but then I started sending other people because I started to realize that nobody cared if I interviewed somebody or not. It literally never did anything for our channel. I remember, some of you know this story, but I remember this one week, I just sat there. This was the eureka moment for me. On Movie Talk one week, I did one segment, talking about, I think it was about what my favorite concession stand items are. Like when I go to the movies, what are the things I go for at the concession stand, right? Did a little segment on that. And in that same week, I had a one-on-one interview with Robert Downey Jr. Not in studio, but at a press junket, right? I had a one-on-one interview with me and Robert Downey Jr. The Robert Downey Jr., like without exaggeration, the video of me talking about what concession stand items I buy at the movies, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times more views. I like the Robert Downey Jr. video got hardly any traction at all. And I started realizing it's the same thing for everything we did, whether it was a red carpet interview, a press junket interview, stuff like that. It didn't really make any difference. And even when I was doing out of the theater reactions, I started realizing, because, I would go to a press screening, which are like 3 or 4 days before a movie comes out. I go sometimes like 2 days before a movie comes out, and I go to a press screening and I do an out of theater review, an out of theater reaction, a quick 1.5 minute out of the theater reaction. And I started realizing, hey, look, the out of theater reactions I do on movies that I just go to on opening day are the exact same numbers I'm getting when I go and do an out of theater reaction to a movie 2 or 3 days in advance because I went to a press screening. The only difference is on opening day, I can drive 5 minutes to my local theater. And when I go to a press screening, I'm driving 1 to 2 hours to get to a press screening. And I'm not getting anything out of it. If I was getting more views on the ones when I would go a few days in advance, I would still do it. So there was that. But the second reason I stopped going to all the press stuff, so I'm going off, I didn't plan on talking about this. I'm going down a rabbit trail, but it is open mic. It's a more casual version of the show. The other thing was, one of the big loser comments I would get from people, like, I always give my honest opinion. Always. My honest opinion is not always popular. It's not always the popular thing, but I always give my honest opinion. And I would find if, say, whenever I liked a movie, I like, what's one like, so, what's a good one? I'm just going to pull one out of my head that I liked recently. Fall Guy. Let's say Fall Guy last year. I really liked Fall Guy. I thought Fall Guy was a great movie. Nobody went to go see it, but I really liked it. Anyway, whenever I said I like something, inevitably there would be 10 to 30 comments of, you're just saying you like it so you can keep your access. That was the word that gets thrown around. Like, there's a bunch of inbred, know nothing, completely clueless people who think this word access is some big magical word. And access feeds me nutrient-rich foods, and access, I don't know, makes my hair look more alive and fluffy in the wind. And access increases my sexual prowess, which is impossible because I'm already at 9,000. But the thing is, there will be all these people who say, you just said you like something because you want to keep access. So I'm like, what do you think access does? What do you think access is? How valuable do you think? Access doesn't give us anything, like me or anybody else in this space. Access doesn't actually do anything for us. It really doesn't. Well, you get to go and interview like Robert Downey Jr. Yeah, guess what? That was a big thrill the first 4 or 5 months that I did this job. That was a big thrill. But then you realize you're driving round trip. You're driving 2, 3, 4 hours to spend an entire day at some hotel. And most of the day you're just sitting waiting in lines. And then when you do get to go in and interview somebody, you literally go in and interview them for 3 minutes, where you get a chance to ask them maybe 2 questions that aren't really of anything of substance, and then you go. I don't care about that. And I guarantee you guys, I'm not better than you. You wouldn't care about it either after you did it for a couple of months. You really wouldn't. I promise you this. After a couple of months, you wouldn't care about it either. I promise. And I wasn't getting anything out of going to these press screenings. So I decided, you know what? I just like being able to say, when somebody would say to me, you're just saying you like that so you can keep access. I kind of like being able to say, I don't have any access. I don't. I literally turn down every single invitation I get. I have no access. So anyway, that's why I turned those things down. Anyway, that was a big, long rabbit trail. Forgive me for that. Point is, I got invited to go to see Predator Badlands last night, and I initially said yes because, man, I'm excited about this movie. But I realized I'm seeing it tomorrow, so I ultimately decided not to go. But I'm going to go see it tomorrow. I'm super excited about it. I'll definitely do my out-of-theater reaction when I say that. So, yeah, there we go. All right. Guys, open mic here is, of course, where we just take your questions. But I like to start every open mic with a topic. And there's a topic I get asked about all the time. And I've never wanted to really address it because I think it can be misconstrued in a lot of different ways. But somebody wrote in yesterday, that they were really just getting started in YouTube and they want to know, what to look for when trying to do things. We're going to talk about the finances of YouTube. And we're going to talk about specifically how the John Campea Show makes money. Because, we are a very small channel in the grand picture of things. We're a small channel. I am a nobody that does these little YouTube videos for my converted garage. But, obviously for a channel our size, and we are a small channel, I got this stat today. For any of you who thinks we're some kind of big channel, all right, I got a stat today given to me by vidIQ. It's a YouTube service that you can use that helps you with your analytics and stuff. I got this, I kid you not. Now, we have about 360,000 subscribers, right? It sounds like a lot. I assure you it's not. And it brought up this stat for me that with about 360,000 subscribers, you know where we rank? I'm going to see if any of you guys in the live chat want to take a guess. Where do we rank? I mean, obviously, we're not number 1 in terms of subscribers. We're not number 5. We're not number 100. Do any of you want to guess where we rank as far as YouTube channels with 360,000 subscribers? So I'm seeing somebody guess, do we rank 1,000? No, we do not rank 1,000. We're lower than 1,000. Somebody's asking, is it 110,000? It is lower than 110,000. Obviously, somebody's saying 10,000. No, it's lower than 110,000. We rank number 176,000. 100. So there are 176,000 YouTube channels that have more subscribers than the John Campea Show does. And so whenever I tell people I'm a nobody, we are a very small YouTube channel, that's why I say, like, they're literally, you walk around the street, if I take a walk down to the 7-Eleven, I'm going to bump into 5 people who have bigger YouTube channels than me. So anyway, but even as a YouTube channel that's as small as we are able to do some things that a lot of other channels our size don't. I have multiple staff. I mean, besides the fact that I get to do this full time, I have multiple staff that I pay. And yes, Rob does get paid for being here. Ray gets paid for working on the channel. Jonathan gets paid for being here. Whenever people come on the show as guests, I always pay. I never ask people to do this stuff for free. I always pay. I think that's important, and I always do it. Anyway. So it's fair. A lot of people have asked, like, where does the money come from? How does the John Campea Show make money? What, you know, as far as proportionally, what makes you more money over other things? So I thought I would take at least a few minutes here tonight to kind of address that. How does the John Campea Show make money? Fair question. We're going to go into it. Now, I'm going to let you know, I still consider finances to be a pretty private thing, so I'm not going to tell you dollar amounts, but I'm going to tell you proportions. All right? I'm going to tell you scale. So there are 4 main ways that the John Campea Show makes money. Okay? So let's go over to the classroom for a second. How does the John Campea Show make money? All right, there's 4 main ways. They are YouTube ad revenue. All right, that's one way. Next is sponsorships. That's the other way. Next is services. That might be the one that I'll have to explain a little bit. And one is tips / super chats, which some of you guys have already sent in some super chats today. Thank you so much for supporting our channel. So let's start with the most obvious one here, shall we? We're going to start with YouTube ad revenue. YouTube ad revenue is, I mean, this is not a mystery. You guys know what it is. We make a YouTube video or we live stream. You guys come along and watch it. And either at the beginning of the video, end of the video, sometimes in the middle of the videos, YouTube inserts an ad, right? Simple, fair enough. So that's basically it. And then if somebody who is a YouTube premium member, then if you are a YouTube premium member and you don't watch, they don't show you any ads, YouTube gives us a small kickback of your YouTube premium membership. It's a very small amount, but it is something. So anyway, YouTube ad revenue. That's the one everybody understands the most. That's the way everybody gets it. You watch YouTube, you get it. Now for us, this represents, that's the wrong number. YouTube ad revenue represents about 45% of our income, of the money that the John Campea Show makes. Now, somebody may ask, well, I mean, how much does YouTube pay? It really depends. I'm not trying to dance around the topic, but how much YouTube pays really depends on the topic that your video's about. For example, if you're talking about, I don't know, I don't know this world very much, but let's say you're talking about local news. Let's say you're going to talk about, let's say you live in Jacksonville, Florida, and you have a YouTube channel where you talk about things going on in Jacksonville, Florida. That's very generic. It's very general. Nothing wrong with that, by the way. We need YouTube channels like that. But YouTube may pay you like, say, $1,000 for every 1 million views. Okay, roughly. Don't hold me to these numbers too terribly tight. These are just general numbers I'm throwing out. But let's say you do something like a really general topic, very general kind of stuff. You could get somewhere around maybe about $1,000, maybe $1,000 to $1,500 per million views. And you're like, per million? I thought if I made a video that had 1,000 views, I'd get $5,000. No. So if you make a video that gets 100,000 views, you make about $150. If you make a video that has 10,000 views, you'll make about $10 to $15. And I know there are people out there who think if I make it a YouTube video and gets 10,000 views, I'm going to get like $600. Yeah, maybe, but you'll probably get something along the lines of $15. Something along the lines of like $15. Somebody's asking this question. Why doesn't Rob stick around for the Q&A part of the show? Because I pay Rob by the hour. And if he stuck around for that additional hour, that equals a lot of money I have to pay him every week. So Rob comes in and does the main show, and then I just do the Q&A myself. But that is why Rob doesn't stick around for that, because I would have to then pay him for all of that. And that's a lot of money when it all comes down to it. Anyway. So not to mention, by the way, staying on that thing, if I have Rob here for the Q&A part very often, it takes almost twice as long to get through the viewer questions because there's two of us answering it, right? So we like to be able to get through as many of the viewer questions as possible. That's why that. Anyway, let's get back to the YouTube stuff. So now that's if you do that. Now, let's say you're doing YouTube videos about makeup tutorials. Hey guys, makeup tutorials, huge business on YouTube. Huge business. Instead of getting maybe $1,000 per million views, maybe you get like $5,000 or $6,000 per million views. Or heavens, if you really go into some big stuff, if you do YouTube channel on like financial services, the ads on your thing might be worth like $10,000 for every million views. Still not as much as most people think it is, but so the more specific, depending on the type of stuff you do, for me, we're not at the bottom, like doing entertainment and movie news. We make a few $1,000s per million views, maybe like $3,000 or $4,000, maybe more. I don't know. But anyway, we make a certain amount of money per million views. And as I said, that represents for us roughly around 45% of what we make. All right, let's talk about sponsorships. Now, sponsorships for people in the YouTube space is like the great white buffalo. Great white buffalo. Do any of you guys know the reference? Say it in the live chat if you do. Getting actual sponsorships is the great white buffalo. You know, like let's say you're watching Linus Tech Tips. Say, by today's sponsor, Infinity. Infinity is the type of online, you know, like that. These are actually companies that directly work with you that will pay you money. And very good. Somebody got it. There's a hot tub time machine. Well done. Well done. It is indeed hot tub time machine. I'm proud of you. I'm glad you knew that. All right. So, and listen, getting sponsors isn't the easiest thing in the world. It's actually pretty difficult. I remember being at AMC, and as we started to grow AMC Movie News, we kept telling AMC, you need to send some people out and get us sponsorships. We will sell sponsorships if you go ahead. And they kept saying, yeah, we'll get you sponsors. We'll get you sponsors. Never able to get us sponsors. And then when we were at Complex, that was the company that owned Collider. So when I was running Collider Video and our ownership company, Complex, they kept telling us, oh yeah, we're going to get sponsors for Movie Talk. We're going to get all these sponsors. Not one sponsorship when I was there. It's tricky. It's difficult. And I'm lucky that I met a guy when I started the John Campea show. I met a guy who specifically works with matching creators with sponsors and agencies, and he's done great for me. And that's why, you know, you'll see us do the different sponsorships. You know, today we want to take a second to thank the sponsor of today's video. And, you know, whether it's The Perfect Gene or whether it's AC Greens or whether it's whatever, he's done a great job in getting us sponsors. Now, for us, that represents another full 45% of the money we make here. Nearly half of the revenue we make is just from our sponsors. And you might think, wait a minute. Like that having like one 1 minute sponsorship thing, that makes you half of your money. Yep. One 1 minute sponsorship, sometimes two, but normally about one 1 minute sponsor ad per 2 hour show represents about 45% of what we make. Now, again, this isn't like YouTube ad revenue, which everybody gets. You sign up for YouTube, qualify to become a channel member, and you get YouTube ad revenue. And it's easier today than ever to get qualified to become a YouTube partner. That's easy. That's simple. You don't even have to do anything. You just upload your video. YouTube will insert the ads. Easy. The sponsorship part of it is tricky. It's, again, it took me years to find somebody who knew how to connect me. And I have a great business manager that works with me to help do all that kind of stuff and, you know, connects and all that kind of stuff. But that sponsorship part, this is the part that really makes it so that a channel as small and as insignificant as the John Campea YouTube channel can actually have staff because of our sponsorship money. Our sponsorships is why I'm able to pay Rob and Jonathan and Ray, and whenever we have other staff around. By the way, we might be adding somebody else soon. Don't take that to the bank. I'm just saying we might be adding somebody else soon. Maybe yes, maybe no. Anyway, that's really the defining factor, because that by itself almost doubles our money. If you can get sponsorships, that's a holy grail. That's a great white buffalo. Anyway. All right. Then we get something like services. This is something that not every YouTube channel will be able to do or can do, and not even something I've always done. Services is just a general term I apply to this. For some reason, some people look at me as if maybe I know what I'm doing. The naive fools. But for some reason, some people look at me as if I know what I'm doing. So what happens is people contact me and, you know, I mean, this doesn't happen all the time, but they contact me and they ask me to either do private coaching and consulting with them. I'm not going to lie. I've had some studios hire me from time to time to do some little consulting gigs on the side to advise on certain things, whatever. I mean, listen, I can be one of the world's biggest idiots, but the reality is I interact with tens, if not hundreds of thousands of film fans every day. So I hear from a lot of film fans every single day. So, some of these companies like to hear what I think about certain things, and they're willing to pay me for my time. Now, that's kind of aside from the YouTube channel, but it's directly as a result of the YouTube channel, so I include that. And so services, I'll say, make up about 6% of the money we're able to make around here. And again, it doesn't represent a big portion at all of the money we make here, but it represents something. All right. Then there's tips and super chats. This will be the one that I think surprises people the most. Tips and super chats really only represent about 4%. 4 to 5. So services will be 5 to 6. Really, you know what? That's what I should do. I should change it a bit. 5% to 6% and 4% to 5%. Somewhere in there. And that, of course, is the obvious one, is when people use our tip link to send in tip questions for us to use in the John Campea show, or when, like today, folks use the super chat feature in super chats to send in a question. So a lot of people think, because I get this a lot, right? Like if Ann and I go out on a date, and we'll put up a picture of a date we go on social media. People say, "Well, look what people's super chat money gets you." The reality is, and I've tried to explain this before, but maybe I haven't done a very good job of it. The reality is, the tips and super chats don't actually make up that much of what we earn here, which will bring up the question, because surprise, surprise, a lot of people sending in $2, $5, $10 super chats. It's not enough to add up to somebody's full-time salary. It's don't get me wrong, it's a nice little thing that we have come in every month, but it doesn't represent a high priority or a big part of the revenue we make. And the reality is, I've been advised that on the John Campea show, I should just cut the show in half and not even do viewer questions, because we're literally spending half the time of our show for something that only makes us about 4 to 5% of our revenue. But the reason I still do it is because I think our audience likes it. I think our audience, and I know I like it, our audience likes engaging with the audience. They like live interaction. They like the fact that we take questions. So that's why we do it, even though it really doesn't make us that much money at all. Now, this will raise the question that, again, a lot of people will ask, and I understand why they would ask. They bring up the question. Hope you guys don't mind. I'm going to use a Halls because I still have a bit of a cough. Then why charge for people sending in questions? I remember when we first started using super chats and tips as a way of taking questions, was back in the AMC days. It might have been when we already moved over to Collider. I can't remember. But here's the dilemma we ran into. When we would say, okay, guys, it's time, because remember, we used to just take questions, period. We didn't use super chat or anything like that. We just asked people, just fire in a question, right? And if you would then look at the live chat, it would start going, it would scroll. It was like zzz, people, everybody sending in questions, people sending in a question, copying and pasting it in 55 times and just keep sending. Blah, 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 blah. And it's like, okay, well, how do we find a good question? It was like, seriously, guys, it was a pain in the ass. We would also take questions just from people mailing them in. Here was the big problem for us. And some of you have been around long enough that you know how this works. Every fucking day, I would get multiple angry emails from people saying, I'm never watching your show again. Why do you hate? Why do you have a bias against me? Why don't you ever pick my questions? Blah, 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 blah. And people, I swear to God, would get so pissed and so angry. I've sent in a question every day for the last 2 weeks and you've never picked my question. That person doesn't realize that on the show, we have time to answer like 15 questions and we literally got about 400 or 500 questions. We can only pick about 4 or 5% of them. But people got mad. Every day, angry messages. Every single day. I remember Dennis and I would laugh about it, but it was really infuriating. Every day, why are you picking my question? Why are you snubbing me? Why are you ignoring me? Blah. And people would get angry. And it became hard. We get 400 or 500 questions sent in. It became hard kind of finding good questions to ask. Because here's the thing, and when I'm answering questions, you got to understand that's a part of the show. There are people watching the show, and I want to make sure we're trying to answer questions that's going to engage, inform, and entertain everybody who's watching. So we didn't want to just blindly take questions because we'd just be wasting people's time. So we found, again, back in the Collider days, we found that, and by the way, since it was just free to send it in, people would send in 500 questions and just copy and paste and copy and paste their questions, send it again and again and again because it was free to do it. So why not, right? We found that when we made it a super chat, so you had to like spend $2, $5, $10, whatever, a couple of things happened. Number one, people were much more thoughtful about the questions they wrote because they, wait a minute, this isn't just free. I'm going to be paying $5 for this. Let me think about this question. Let me try to make sure I word it properly, all that kind of stuff. Number two, it offered us a mechanism that, hey, listen, if you really have a question that you really want us to address, here's an avenue for you to do it. And as long as it's not an inappropriate question, like, hey, John, show us your boobs. I'll show you my boobs if you want. Anyway, as long as it's an appropriate question, you now had a mechanism that guaranteed your question gets answered. And the third benefit for the channel was, and we get a little bit of extra revenue, right? So it made sure people weren't spamming in questions. It made a lot easier for us to have our questions. People are less likely to troll in a question if they like send in a troll message, if they have to pay for it. It's not impossible, but it made it less likely that people would do it. Trolls are very, very cheap people. They don't want to spend anything, which is fine. And guess what happened? When we introduced the super chats, we said, hey, here's a way that guarantees you get your question answered, as long as it's appropriate. You know, there's 4 or 5 hate messages I used to get every single day from people complaining that I never answered their questions. We didn't get them anymore. People weren't angry anymore. But again, I think a lot of people just think that we use super chat as a way to just make our money. And the reality is, guys, super chat actually makes a small percentage of what our income is. And really the only reason we still do it and use super chats is, number one, to make sure we still have live fan interaction. And then number two, it just makes sure that we get appropriate questions and people have an avenue to know that if they send one in, they know it's going to get answered. So that's why we do that. So basically the revenue of the John Campea Show breaks down to about 45% of it comes from YouTube ad revenue from our pure views. About 45% of it comes from sponsorships, and about 5 to 6% comes from services I do outside of the channel, but they're a result of the channel. And about 4 to 5% of it comes from super chats. Where does it go? Where is the money spent? Okay. About 25% of it goes to me. Me. I get it. Pays my bills. I built this thing. Ultimately, when it's all said and done, I get about 25% of the thing that gets paid. About 30% goes to staff right now, because we only have a small staff right now. So about 30% goes to our part-time staff. About 30% of it goes to taxes. That one hurts. Every year, that one hurts. Hurts a lot. And then about 15% of it goes to expenses that aren't staff. So when we got to buy new lights, cameras, lenses, computers, going to CinemaCon, things like that, that all kind of adds up. That all kind of adds up. So roughly speaking, that's where our money goes to, from money that comes in. So, and Top Gun's asking, how much of that money goes towards Zevia? I spend a lot of money on Zevia, man. Spend a lot of money on Zevia. Actually, today in the cup is actually Diet Pepsi. I don't know why, I just was in the mood for Diet Pepsi today. So that's in there. Anyway, guys, that's a rough breakdown about how a small channel like our channel, an unimportant, insignificant channel run by a nobody, that's how we generate our money. That's the proportions in which the money comes in, and a general idea about how it gets spent and where it goes out. So yeah, hopefully you guys found that helpful, useful. Maybe it just answers a little curiosity that you had, but I hope you found it helpful in some way. All right. With that down, guys, and by the way, if you have any more specific questions, go ahead and use the super chat feature, send in a question about it, or just send in a question about, how excited we are about Predator Badlands or whatever else. Send that on in. So now let's go over and start taking your questions here, shall we? So I'm just going to give me a second here to get this all set up, because I think our first question is coming to us from E. Young. Yep, there it is. All right, here we go. Let's get this thing rolling, shall we? E. Young writes, why do you think Warfare, it's a good question, is not getting awards buzz? Thought it would get some buzz for at least a couple of nominations. I'm not hearing or seeing anything. It's the same answer it is for any movie. Because generally speaking, people think that in every category, there are at least 5 better options. And I get it. Listen, I was late to Warfare. I didn't see Warfare till at least, oh God, I want to say like a month after it came out. I was late to that one. It's really good. But it's one of those movies that I think is really, really good, but I wasn't really sure about maybe some cinematography. I thought the cinematography in it was fantastic. I wasn't really sure about it having Oscars. So, and again, the Oscars is such a tricky thing because you can't just be a great movie. That doesn't cut it. You literally have to have, person in a category where out of the thousands of movies that came out that year, there aren't just 5 that actors and directors and writers didn't think did a little bit better of a job than you did. I mean, it's really, really tough. So, and it was early in the year. Listen, I'm not going to be surprised at all. Oh yeah, Uncle Jimmy. Sound design is another one. It could be in the running for. That's another one it could be in the running for. I'm not going to be surprised if it gets a couple of nominations, but I'm also not going to be surprised if it doesn't. It doesn't take away from the fact that it's a great movie, but yeah, it's a tricky thing, man. It's a difficult thing to get an Oscar nomination. All right, thanks, E. Young. Next up, Super Saiyan 13 writes, John, how can I watch The Anniversary? Can't find it anywhere to rent. Would love to watch that film of yours, please. Love the show as ever. Thanks. Well, thank you so much. For those of you who don't know, I'm going to see if I can find this. John Campea, The Anniversary. I made a little film a bunch of years ago called The Anniversary. And it's a movie I'm super proud of. It's a movie that let me see if I can bring it up here on screen. Yeah, there it is. That's my movie, The Anniversary. You might notice down in the bottom right corner, there's the one bald dude, and right beside him is a redhead. That is Aaron Cummings. That's Aaron Cummings. And I made this little movie called The Anniversary. The primary reason I made it was because I was doing the movie. I wasn't even at AMC. I was still doing the movie blog at the time. And my primary motivation for doing The Anniversary was, well, two things. One, everybody says they want to make a movie. I'm going to do it. I'm one of those guys. I might end up doing things badly, but when I think I want to do something, I just kind of do it. So I wanted to make a movie. So I went ahead and I made a movie. But the other main reason I did it was because I wanted to develop an appreciation. I wanted to better understand and have a better appreciation. Since I talked about filmmaking all day and filmmakers, I thought I ought to just make my own movie so I can have a better appreciation for what it is these people do. And it was the most valuable experience for me as an online film pundit, making my own little film. The budget was like $20,000. It wasn't like Chris Stuckman's $2.5 million. I made The Anniversary for like $25,000. But the most valuable experience I've ever had as a film pundit was making my own movie. Now, the reason I haven't put The Anniversary up online yet is because when I made the movie, while I did some of the soundtrack myself, yeah, a lot of you guys don't know, I'm actually a little hack musician. I'm basically a low-level hack musician. But anyway, so I did about half the soundtrack myself. But the other half of the soundtrack, I actually got some bands and some music people, and I licensed their music to do my movie. But it's been so long since I've done it, I need to go find those licenses, and it was for putting it out on DVDs. It wasn't for putting it on YouTube. I'd have to go through and get those licenses all reestablished before I put it up. So I'm trying to go through that process so I can just take my movie, The Anniversary, and put it up online. And hopefully I'll be able to get people to watch it then, and hopefully you'll like it. Listen, I'm going to tell you right now, my movie, The Anniversary, is crappy. I'm not being modest. It's crappy because it's a $25,000 movie made by a guy who had no idea what he was doing. But I am infinitely proud of it. I'm super proud of it. I did it. I made a movie. I just said, screw it. I'm just going to do it. I wrote a script. I wrote some music. I got actors together. I got a crew together. I did all of it, and I made a movie. And I'm super proud of it. That doesn't mean I have delusions of grandeur. It ain't competing with 40-Year-Old Virgin, but I'm very proud of it, so it's just me. All right. Next up, thanks, Super Saiyan. Donaldo Martinez writes, do you think Keith David will do the voice of Goliath again in the Gargoyle live-action TV show? Is that going to be TV? For some reason, I thought it was going to be a movie. By the way, I haven't heard about any movement on it lately. Anyway, let's go with what you're saying, because I'm not really keeping track of it. Let's say it's going to be a TV show. Maybe. Do you know I had a chance to meet Keith David? He did a little movie for a couple of friends of mine called Gamer. I think it was Gamer that he was in. And I remember I stopped off in New Mexico when my friends were making this movie. It also had Gerard Butler, Milo Ventimiglia in it, and Sam Witwer is in it as well. And the day that I stopped in New Mexico to visit the set, Keith David was wrapping his final day of shooting. I got to meet Keith David there. I don't think so. I don't think they will, and I don't think they should. I think they should get a new voice for him for a new generation. And now listen, I ain't going to complain if he does it, because he's got he's got a top 10 best voice in all of the movie industry. He's got an amazing voice. But I kind of think maybe they should get a new voice for him for a new generation. I don't know. I might be wrong about that. Just me. All right. Next up, Connor Dorian writes, what are your thoughts on the second episode of It, Welcome to Derry? Still haven't watched it. So what I decided to do, because, we were busy, because it came out on a day that it did not come out on its normal day because of Halloween. And I didn't see it for the first couple of days because we were busy. So what I decided was I'm going to wait until Sunday, right? Sunday's when the next episode comes out. I'm going to wait till the next episode comes out, and then I'm going to watch episode 2 and 3 back to back. I really liked episode 1, surprisingly. So I'm looking forward to it, but I just decided that I'm going to wait until the 3rd episode so I can watch episode 2 and 3 back to back. All right. Nexus writes, excited for the new Mummy movie from Radio Silence. They killed it with Abigail, so I'm personally seated for a monster movie they do. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not really familiar. Are you talking about the one where the news came out today that Brendan Fraser was coming back? We're going to talk about that on the John Campea show tomorrow. To be honest with you, Nexus Fuel, I'm not familiar with. Abigail is awesome. Like, I loved Abigail. I couldn't believe how much fun I thought that little movie was. It's really fun. More people should have seen it. But I'm not really. Is that them who are making the new Brendan Fraser movie? Or are these two separate topics? I haven't really kept up with it today because after I did the show today, I had a whole bunch of work to do. So, and then I'm doing open mic, so I haven't been able to catch up on that. All right. Jacob H. writes, Oscar chances for Fantastic Four's music score. At this point, Michael Giacchino needs to be in the best movie composers conversation. He's really good. I like him a lot. You know what? I'll go along with you on that. I'll say his name is in the conversation. I'll say that. I don't think he's a serious contender to be considered the best composer today, but he's really quite good. I like his stuff a lot. I don't think Fantastic Four will get nominated because I think the score is good. And listen, I think the main theme is amazing. The main theme, bum, 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 Fantastic Four. It's a great theme. I love it. But best score at the Oscars is not about one piece. It's about the way the music works throughout the entire film. And while the score for Fantastic Four is good, it's really good, I don't think it's going to get nominated for best score. And I'm okay with that. I really am. While I liked it very much, I'm okay with that. All right. Next up, we've got Anthony C. writes, are you familiar with the Lark M2 microphones? You're talking about the Hollyland ones, right? Yeah, I'm very familiar with them. I recently, a couple of months ago, I bought some new wireless lavalier mics to use for my out of theater reactions and for a couple of other things. And I researched a number of them. I researched the Rode. I researched the Hollyland Lark M2s. I researched the DJIs. And I ended up going with the DJI 2, their second version. So that's the one I ended up going with. But the Hollyland Lark M2s are very inexpensive and still quite good. Again, I preferred the DJIs, but for the bang for your buck, those Hollyland mic, the Lark M2s are very, very good. They're very good. All right. Next up, Orange Hand writes, as much as you love Villeneuve's Dune films, have you heard any criticism of them that you may not agree with, but still think are fair points? Well, I mean, here's the thing. And by the way, guys, I'm turning off super chats. So for any of you, I'll give it another 15 seconds or so, but then I'm turning off super chats because, I'm going to want to go out to dinner with Ann in a little bit. So I'll give you about 15 more seconds to fire in a question if you still wanted to get one in. Anyway, I remember when Dune was coming out, and I was so excited about it. But, a lot of people said, oh, do you think it'll make $1 or $2 billion? And I said, no. Dune's not going to be $1 billion film. And they're like, how can you say it's not going to be $1 billion film? Well, because the reality is it's not your run-of-the-mill big sci-fi epic, big sci-fi action adventure. It's really, it's... I'm not saying it's above anybody. It's just a different kind of movie, right? It's more thoughtful. It's more philosophy. It's not, and I remember saying this when the film was first coming out, it's not a movie that's for everybody. It just isn't. And that's why I didn't think it was going to be, or had a chance to be $1 billion film or anything like that. The very nature of it not being for everybody means I get it because film is subjective. Different types of things in films hit us all in different ways. And so I think there are several things, like somebody who approaches Dune and watches the first Dune, which I find tense and thrilling. I could understand if different things hit people different ways. They may look at Dune and go, I found it kind of boring. There's not a lot of action. There's a lot of dialogue. It's a lot of lore. And for some people that doesn't quite work for them, which is totally fair, I get that it may not be as exciting for them as it is for me. So, yeah, I think there are. Now, there are some that I don't think is like when people say, oh, the dialogue isn't very good. Okay, I mean, to each their own, it's all subjective, but I think you're a little bit crazy. I think the dialogue in Dune is amazing. So I don't agree with those ones at all, but I get it. I get it because, again, it's not the type of film that's for everybody. And that's fair. Nothing wrong with that. All right. Next up, we got Patrick James Clark, who writes, you've said a mantra you like is do something every day that brings you closer to your goals. With retirement ahead, are there any new personal, professional goals you're working towards? Yes. Yes, there are. Look, I am a very lucky person in the sense that I have gotten to do, I mean, like, I'm not a big famous movie maker, but I love film, man. I love movies. And I've been able to spend a good part of my adult life working adjacent to the movie industry. I've got to be in my own weird little way, kind of, my job is connected with the world of movies. I couldn't be more lucky. I really couldn't. And that's all been a result of a lot of hard work and whatever, but and doing little things every day, working towards my goals and making things happen. But yes, I do have a couple of things that I am kind of working towards, and I can't really talk about them right now, but it's nothing big. It's not like, yes, me and Glenn Powell are working on a new movie project together. No, it's nothing like that. It's more personal in nature, but there are a couple things I'm working towards and I'm working on that I'm excited about. And part of it has to do with retirement. Part of it has to do with a project. But when the time is right, if the time becomes right, I'll let you guys know what that is. I appreciate the question, Patrick. Thank you so much. I appreciate that, man. All right. Next up, Dragoons, right, sends in roughly equivalent to a $20 super chat. Thank you, Dragoons. And writes, game recommendation, Dispatch. I'm so glad you're writing this in because just literally the other night, Ann and I turned on the PS5 and I started running around looking for a new game to play. Anyway, game recommendation, Dispatch, a superhero-themed episodic adventure game made by former Wolf Among Us devs. Total 8 episodes with weekly 2-episode drops. Episodes 5 and 6 releasing tomorrow, at least watch playthrough. I might wait then until the whole game's available, but that sounds very interesting. Yeah, I'm looking for a good game to get into right now. I'm about to start up Baldur's Gate 3 again, my all-time favorite video game. I'm thinking about starting that one up again. But this sounds really interesting, Dragoon. Thank you for the recommendation. I will keep it on my radar. Thank you so much. Guys in the live chat, do me a favor. If you know this one, let me know. What's the platform? Is it PC? Is it Switch? Is it PS5? Is it Xbox? Let me know. Is it all of them? Let me know what it is in the live chat if you know what it is. All right. Next up, we've got Mr. Graham, who writes, good evening, Sir John. If you want to skip this, I get it. No grudge will be held. I began my faith journey and was wondering if you would recommend a specific book or chapter. A specific book. One that was very influential to me was, and I don't agree with everything in it. I don't. But there's a book called Knowing God by J.I. Packer. It's an older book, but it's called Knowing God by J.I. Packer. And that was a very formative book for me. I really like that book a lot. Now, it's been a number of years since I've read it, and it's been revised, but I think that was one that was a very special and important book to me. So maybe that's one you can check out for yourself. All right. Thanks for that, Mr. Graham. Next up, Narjo writes, hey, John, thank you and the crew for the years of great content and entertainment. Stay filthy. Oh, thank you. It's always nice when somebody just wants to write in just to say something encouraging. Thank you, Narjo. I appreciate that very much, man. I appreciate that, dude. All right. Next up, Music Rockeries writes, hey, John, have you ever thought about doing a world tour or visiting different country and doing a John Campea on the mic live event meetup? Here, would I like to do something like that? Absolutely. The problem is I am a nobody. I can't just, I'm not Ryan Reynolds, man. I can't just show up at some venue anywhere and have 500 people show up. I mean, I'm just a nobody. So you're asking me, John, would you like to do the type of things that big rock stars would do? Absolutely. I would love to do that sort of thing, but I can't because I'm a nobody. So not to mention, you know, like it would literally cost me thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to like, say I want to do one in Australia. It would literally cost me thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to fly to Australia, get a hotel, eat while I'm there, have a venue. And it's just not a realistic thing for me. I think the closest thing I can get to that is by doing our movie meetups. Now, again, it sucks because that means I can't visit our friends in London. I can't visit our friends in India. I can't visit our friends in Australia or other countries in Europe or anything like that. And that sucks. But the reality is that's just a limitation of the fact that I'm not some big guy. I'm not some big deal. And that's fine. I love doing our movie meetups, and maybe someday an opportunity will avail itself that I can go and travel somewhere, which would be pretty cool. All right. Thanks for the question, man. Next up, hot quality content, writes, launching channel membership soon. Any advice? You know what? You're asking the wrong guy, because as our channel members will attest, I'm bad at channel memberships. It hurts to say it, but it's true. I'm terrible at channel memberships. Like, we have a lot of channel members, and we don't do enough for our channel members. I know it. I know that we don't. Like, yeah, our channel members have specific emojis, like exclusive emojis they can use. Our channel members get an ad-free version of our show every day. That's our biggest benefit. Did you guys know that? Maybe a lot of you guys don't know this, but for our channel members, we take the John Campea show every day and we strip out all the ads, all the YouTube ads, all the sponsorship ads, everything. And we put up a version of the show that is totally ad-free. And that's for our channel members. And I got to admit, that's a pretty good perk that we do. We don't do our channel members' town halls nearly enough. We don't have enough perks. Our channel members are saints because they have been channel members. They are active channel members just to be supportive to the YouTube channel. So I am the wrong guy to ask. I'm the wrong guy to ask. I'm not the one you should ask advice from that. Find somebody who's really good at it, because I'm not him. I'm terrible at it. And I'm always trying to think of good ways to make it more fun for our individual channel members. But yeah, anyway, we'll see. Well, I'll keep trying. All right. Thanks, hot quality content. And good luck with that, man. All right. Cal writes, hey, John, big fan since the AMC days. Thank you so much, Cal. I just finished Project Hail Mary. Loved it. It's now my most anticipated movie. Artemis adaptation next. I don't know that Artemis has the cinematic potential that Project Hail Mary does. Man, Project Hail Mary is so good, and it will translate really well to the screen. I'm not so sure about Artemis, to be honest with you, but yeah, man, I've already read Project Hail Mary twice. It's absolutely incredible. And it's funny, I literally just got a text message like yesterday from Cody Miller, You guys, you know who Cody is. Um, Olympic gold medalist and been on my show a number of times. Good friend of ours. And we told him, you got to check out Project Hail Mary. So he was just driving to a big swimming event. It was going to be like a 2-day drive. He says, all right, I'm going to listen to Project Hail Mary. And he's like texting me, oh my God, this is so good. If you guys haven't read or get the audiobook or something of Project Hail Mary, you totally should. It's great. I'm glad you checked it out. I cannot wait for this movie. Cannot wait for it. All right. Alfredo Pera writes, hey, John. I enjoy when you bring up your background in theology. Can you share how that started? Did your parents introduce you to it and how faith looks for you today? Thanks. Well, no, I'm not going to go into that. That's the type of thing most people don't care about hearing about me. It is not part of my background. It's not a part of my family background. I can tell you that. It's just that when I was a teenager, I made some friends who were, because I grew up Catholic because I'm Italian. I grew up Catholic, but I met some friends that were Christians, and they invited me one day to go to youth group, and part of it just really appealed to me. And that's how I got involved. And then I got really fascinated with the Bible and theology and all that kind of stuff. And that was that. Now nobody cares to hear about my religious beliefs and my religious background and all that kind of stuff. Nobody cares. But yeah, I mean, I consider myself something of an armchair theologian. I have biblical degrees. I went to seminary. It is actually laughable to me when I could say some things right now, but I'm not going to. So yeah, that's about the extent that I'll go into it there. But thank you for asking, Alfredo. I do appreciate it. All right, next up, Benji Gator writes, when you leased that office space a few years back, yeah, we had that office space for like 2 years. What was your vision at the time, and did the rent cost just make it silly to extend the lease? Yeah, well, there were a couple of things. There were a couple of elements at play. We were doing the John Campea show here in this little garage, this little space. And we were kind of expanding, and there was just not enough space in here that I could have the people that were working for me all coming in. Because at one point we had like up to 7 people on staff just for the John Campea show. Like we peaked out at one point having like 7 people working for us. And it's like, they can't come into the house. The second element was Ann and I wanted this room as a theater room. So we have 150 inch, we got this digital projector. We have a 150 inch screen in here, and we used it as a theater room, and we loved it. So we wanted to kind of get, the room for that. And at the time, how's the best way for me to put this? I went astray from my own personal philosophy because I had promised myself, like when I left Collider and I decided to do the John Campea show, I promised myself I was not going to try to create Movie Talk 2.0. I was not going to try to create another AMC movie news division, right? But you got to get caught up in things. And as the channel was growing, we went from like 500,000 views a month to 1 million views a month to 1.5 to 2 to 3, all that kind of stuff. And your mindset gets caught up in, well, you got to expand, you got to grow, and you got to add more staff, and you got to add more shows, and I just remember, and that's part of the reason why I leased the office space. Number one, I did really like having an office space outside of the house. I really did enjoy that. That just that simple part of it, I thought was great. But we were spending, after expenses, we were spending about $5,000 a month on that space. We were spending about $5,000 a month on that space. And I just remember at one point I sat down and looked at things because we were doing all these shows. Not only were we doing the John Campea show and all these open mics, and we were doing Weekly Hero, and we were doing this other thing, and we were doing these live streams, and we were doing this other stuff, and we just kept expanding. And I remember one day I sat down and I thought, I looked around and I said to myself, I'm doing the exact thing I promised myself I wouldn't do. I'm kind of recreating AMC Movie News again. I'm creating Collider Video again. And I had promised myself I wouldn't do that. And number one, because the bigger things got, the more I worked. Like I was literally, I was leaving for the studio before Ann would wake up. And more nights than not, I was coming home long after dinner time. And Ann was very patient with me. Like she was super patient and very supportive during that time, but I could see it was starting to frustrate her. And then I started looking at like the finances and I realized, you know what, for all the money it's costing us to produce all this extra content, it's not actually making us much more money. Like we were spending more money on producing that extra content than it was actually making us. And I remember, many of you guys remember this, it was very jarring. A couple of years ago, I made the decision, that's it, done. I'm downscaling all of this. And we're cutting everything in half. We're getting rid of all the extra shows. We're not even going to do, remember for a little while, we didn't even do the John Campea show live anymore. And I kind of overcompensated by cutting back a little bit too much, but I just cut everything out. And so we did that. And then after a while, I got equilibrium back. I bounced up by just making the John Campea show live again. And we just realized, you know what, for the way we do it, all we need is my little garage. And so after our 2-year lease expired, I opted not to renew it. And then we moved back into the place. And that's kind of what we did. And I'm very, very happy about that move. I'm very happy we did it. Those were a lot of fun couple of years. You know, they were a fun couple of years getting to go into the studio every day and having like 6 or 7 people around that I really liked working with and all that kind of stuff. But it was leading to a place that I didn't want to be again. And so I'm happy we did it, but I'm also happy that I stopped doing it. And this is my happy place right now. You know, just doing the John Campea show, the odd open mic. And I mean, I still work very hard and I work a lot of hours, but not nearly as much as I used to. So it's a much better balance for me. All right. Thanks for that, Benji Gator. Where was it? Oh yeah, there. Okay. Benji Gator's second question is, after watching for years, you've liked to evolve and try new things on the show, staff, show format, etc. How do you reflect on what has worked and what's not? I think, you know, ultimately, I try a lot of things because I'm not afraid to fail. Failing is fine. I have no problem. I've had a lot of successes and I've had a lot of failures. The successes come from failures. And so I've never been afraid to fail and fail fast. Like I don't mind trying something, and if it doesn't work, I stop doing it and I move on. I take the good things from it and try to move on and evolve and do something better. And so, yeah, I have several pieces of criteria that I look at to evaluate whether something's working or not. Number 1, is it improving my quality of life? Number 2, is my audience enjoying it? And number 3, is the cost it takes to do it worth the returns we're getting in exchange? If something costs us $200 to do, but we're only getting $100 out of it, that's not a good return on investment. That's not a good use of our time and energy and resources. Move on from it. Or maybe we're spending $100 on it and making $300, but it's making my life miserable. Then that's not a good thing. So yeah, those are different types of things that I always try to use and evaluate. And by the way, we might be going through another change soon. Maybe as early as next week. Nothing seismic, nothing glacial. But we might be going through a couple of minor changes next week. Keep your guys' eyes open for it. I'll let you know as we get closer to it. All right. Let's see. Next up, we've got Jay Hart, who writes, how does YouTube Premium users affect monetization? The way it affects us mostly is that we make a lot less money. If you're just a regular YouTube user and you come to our channel and YouTube plays you some ads, then we get a certain amount of money. We get half of that money. However, if you're a YouTube Premium channel member and come and watch our show without any ads, We do get a little kickback from YouTube on that. Like if a premium member watches, we do get a cut, but it's not nearly as significant as the YouTube ads. So by the way, I'm not trying to discourage anybody from being a YouTube premium member. I think it's great. I'm a YouTube premium member. I think you should be if you have the option to. But we do make a lot less money from people watching our videos who are YouTube premium members than we do from people who are not YouTube premium members. But I still encourage you to become a YouTube premium member. All right, good question, Jay. Next up, Cal writes, I remember said you knew about Kylo killing Snoke in The Last Jedi before its release. Yep. What's the biggest spoiler detail you found out before it was public knowledge? There's a bunch. There's a bunch. I'm trying to think of them off the top of my head. I've talked about a number of them before. You know what? It's one of those, damn it. It's one of those things where there have been a number of them and I just can't think of any of them off the top of my head that you guys don't already know about. I'd have to think about, but yes, I mean, I get, what happens is sometimes, like I know a lot of people at studios, and sometimes what happens quite often is I think somebody's giving me a scoop. And, you know, somebody at a studio will write to me and say, hey, just so you know, in this movie we got coming out in 6 months, so-and-so ends up being so-and-so. And what they think they're doing is giving me a scoop. They think they're being nice to me, right? And so I totally appreciate it. All good intentions, but it's stuff I don't want to know, right? And I can't. So I never reveal the stuff that I know about in advance. And the one or two times that I have revealed stuff has been stuff when I didn't actually think it was real, like the infamous Spider-Man incident. Everybody take a look at Tobey Maguire's package. It's clear. Yeah, I didn't think that was real. So that one I shared and that one I shouldn't have shared. And you know, the whole kerfuffle happened as a result of that. But yeah, I get told a lot and it's stuff I don't want to know and I never share it. I mean, we'll talk about it in the you know, I wish Rob was here because like when that stuff will come in, I'll talk to Rob about it. I was like, hey, I got told something about this movie. Do you want to hear it? And he'll go, he always says yes. So he's like, yeah. So I'll tell him about it. I'll tell him about it and I'll explain it to him. And we'll talk about these things all the time. If Rob was here right now, I'm sure he could remind me of a bunch of them, but I can't think of any others off the top of my head. All right. Next up, just a couple more here. Art Vandelay from Vandelay Industries writes, hey, John, do you think there will ever be a new superhero that could reach the success of Batman, Spider-Man, etc., either an existing or a brand new hero? Absolutely. Yes. 100% it can happen. Is it likely? Well, I don't know if it's likely, but listen, all it takes is one great idea and it can catch on like wildfire. So the popularity of Batman, Spider-Man, Superman, I mean, these are not only all-time popular, but they have been around for generations and multiple generations of favorite characters. It's going to be hard to displace that, but is it possible? All it takes is one right idea with one right story and it can be great. No, it certainly isn't Invincible. Jose Mia is saying Invincible. No, most people don't know who Invincible is and don't care. Invincible will never be 1/10 as popular as Batman or Superman. And I say this as somebody who loves Invincible, but no chance. Never going to get close to that. All right. Thanks, Art Vandelay. Next up, we got Stunna writes, John, I want your opinion on the 2025 Dracula movie. I watched it and I love it. Bring on the filthy. I don't know what movie we're talking about. What? Are you talking about Nosferatu? If you're talking about Dracula, I am not familiar with any 2025 Dracula movie. If you're talking about Nosferatu, which is actually a 2024 movie, it's not a 2025 movie, it's a 2024 movie. I did not like Nosferatu as much as most people did. Just being honest. I found some, and I love Robert Eggers, like The Northman. Uh, uh, I, I don't know why more people didn't watch and enjoy and love The Northman. Anyway, I love Robert Eggers as a director, but I was just constantly dumbfounded by the massive logic holes in it and by how stupid some of the characters acted. And I don't want to give away the ending, but even how that movie ends, I'm like, oh my God, are you telling me that guy was that stupid? Yeah, I know everybody loved Nosferatu. Everybody loved Nosferatu, but it just did not work for me. All right. Next up, Mike Thompson writes, how well do you think Mandalorian and Grogu can do at the box office? I don't think that great. I understand that it's Star Wars, but how many movies that serve as direct continuations of TV shows have ever set the world ablaze? And I don't think Mandalorian and Grogu is going to be one of them. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't think Mandalorian and Grogu is going to make $200 million. Like, it's going to do better than that. But there's a couple of things working against it, right? Number one, not everybody watches Mandalorian. Not everybody has Disney Plus. Not everybody watches Mandalorian. It's an extension of a TV show that a lot of people don't watch. The second big part is that the last season of Mandalorian was not good. And I say this as a Mandalorian fan. I love season 1 and season 2. But let's call a spade a spade. Mandalorian season 3 was not great. It was not great. You know, no, I'll go one step further. It wasn't just not great. It was bad. It was bad. It wasn't dumpster fire. It wasn't total garbage, but it was bad. It was bad. So you're talking about a show that not everybody's watched. It's just a continuation of a show, which is going to lose a lot of people's interest anyway. And it's coming not after now listen, you put out a Mandalorian and Grogu movie after the end of season 2, after Luke shows up and wrecks fools and kills all these stormtroopers and these droid things, you do that becomes a different discussion. But you're putting this out long after season 3, which most people didn't like. Look, I hope I'm wrong. But I think 500 million is going to be its roof. I think that's the ceiling. And I hope I'm wrong. I hope it makes like 700, 800 million dollars. I hope it does great. I hope the movie's great and I hope it does great. But right now I'm kind of thinking that 500 million might be the ceiling of it. I really do. And again, I hope I'm wrong. I want good things for it, but right now I'm going to admit, Mike, I'm pessimistic about it. I'm pessimistic. Hopefully it'll change our minds. All right. Next up, John, last one today comes to us from Johnny Weiner, who writes, I saw Back to the Future for the first time. Awesome, dude. I love hearing people seeing a great all-time classic movie for the first time because I'm jealous. You just got to do something I'll never get to do again. I'll never get to see Back to the Future for the first time. Funny thing about Back to the Future is that I am not as big of a fan of the franchise as most people are. Like, I love the first movie. I like the second one. I don't think it's nearly as good as the first, but I like the second one. Most people totally love the second one. And I could take or leave the third one. I don't think it's bad. I just could take or leave the third one. So I'm a huge fan of Back to the Future, the original movie. I'm not a huge fan of Back to the Future as a franchise, if you know what I'm saying. So there's that too. All right, guys, listen. That's all. You guys remember I turned off super chats a while ago. So that's it. But you know what? I'm going to take just a couple of extra minutes. If you guys have a question for me, you see in the live chat, I just put all capital letters, question, : if you have a question for me, format it like that and send it in. And I'm not going to answer all of them. Just going to let you, don't get mad. I'm just going to cherry pick out a couple to answer. So I'm not going to answer all of them. I'm just going to pick out a couple. Let's see. Question, which Will Ferrell movie is worse to you? The House or Holmes and Watson? They were both bad. He did The House with Amy Poehler. That was Amy Poehler, right? That he did that one. That was bad. But you know what? I'm going to have to go with Holmes and Watson. I love Will Ferrell, man, but both those movies are terrible. And yeah, but I'm going to say Holmes and Watson was even worse. Let's see here. Flux Film and Cinema says, what happened to the Pride audiobook? Working on it, but it's going to take months. So for those of you who know, I did a book called The Pride a number of years ago. And I'm now working on the process of getting it converted finally into an audiobook. But I am doing some big revisions on the book. I'm making changes to the book before I put it out in audio format. And it's going to be months, many months. Probably not a year, but it's going to take me months to get to that and to really get that into a place that I'm ready to put it out. So give me some time on that. Let's see. Noah is writing, how much money do you think Doomsday will make? Listen, any answer I give right now becomes completely thrown away once we see the trailer, right? I got to see the trailer to see how good I think it looks and then gauge the buzz of everybody else. So I'm going to give you, I'll answer your question, but just understand that any answer I give right now becomes obsolete once the trailer comes out. That's when you should really ask me how much money I think it's going to make. I'm going to go out on a limb and say, I think Doomsday will make $1.3 billion. I think it will make $1.3 billion. All right. Next one, he says, I am Sinistan writes, hey, Mr. Campea, longtime fan from Pakistan. Thank you so much for writing in, man. What has been the worst movie of 2025? So you just answered it. Worst movie of 2025, War of the Worlds. Yeah. Now, help me out here, guys, because I'm terrible with dates and time. Did Craven come out this year? Was Craven a 2025 film? I think it was. I know there's like a 15-second delay. Answer me in the live chat. Did that come out this year? I'll just wait to see if somebody gets. Oh, people saying it came out in 2024. Okay, never mind. Then yeah, War of the Worlds. Even though it wasn't a theatrical film, War of the Worlds is one of the worst films I've ever seen. I just can't believe how bad it is. So yeah, there's that. All right. Specular. I don't even know how to say that. All right. When you retire, will you hire a new person to host the show similar to what Mr. Beast has said in the past? Okay, so don't hold me to this. I have several options in front of me right now. I shouldn't even be talking about this publicly. My manager is going to be super pissed that I am, but I'm going to mention it here. I have several options in front of me right now for what to do about the channel when I decide to retire. And remember, I've extended my retirement because we got the new sponsorship deal and I was able to get the van so I can do the show from the road, so I can travel and do the things I want to do in retirement while still doing the show. So I've extended it out. I'm going to be around at least another year. Okay. I'm going to be around doing this for at least another year, but I am kind of in the process of preparing for retirement and what to do about the channel. I have several options in front of me, and there are really 3 options I'm looking at. Okay? 3 options. And these are in no particular order. Okay, so these are in no particular order. Option number one, just close down the channel, right? It's like, that was great. It was awesome. All good things come to an end. That was great, but I'm retiring now, so it's time to shut down the channel. So long, and thanks for all the fish. Thank you, everybody, for being around for so long, and this has been a great ride, and we shut it all down. Option number two is sell the channel. So, I'm not going to lie. I've had discussions with some names you would recognize about possibly buying the channel. And then what I would do is, if somebody bought the channel, what I would do is I would probably stick around for an additional 1 or 2 years and kind of work with whoever bought the channel. So I would continue to do the show for another 1 or 2 years. And I would continue to do the show with either whoever bought the channel from me or their representative, like the talent they hire. So it kind of becomes my show and their show. And then in the last 6 months, it becomes more their show and I'm kind of the guest. And then after a year or two of doing that, then I leave and retire and they take over the show entirely to kind of get the audience on board with the new host. The third option available to me is to hire my replacement. So the third option is I continue to own the channel, but I hire a new lead host. A new lead host to come in who can come in and do the show and run the show and maybe still have Rob on and still have Jonathan here and whatever, and maybe do some other things, but hire somebody who becomes a new lead host. And I still own the channel. I just pay that person to kind of be the main face of it. And that means every once in a while I could still step in and be a guest on it or something from time to time. So those are the three options I'm looking at doing. Either shut down the channel altogether, sell the channel, or continue the show and owning the channel, but just hire somebody to replace me. And that way everybody else can everything else can stay the same, and I can come in and guest every once in a while. And no, J. Cruz, I'm not just leaving it to Jonathan and Rob. I'm not doing that. So it's going to be one of those things. It's going to be one of those things. I don't know which one it's going to be yet. I'm still evaluating. I'm still evaluating all my options and what's going to work best. All three of them, I think, have their merits. Just having a clean, shut the whole thing down, passing it on so other people can continue it, or even continue to own it myself, just have somebody else in this chair. And then I can still come in every once in a while. So I don't know. I don't know. Again, lots of options. I'm looking at all of them. I've still got a lot of time to evaluate all that, and we'll see. And all right, guys, that'll do it for today's installment of Open Mic. Thank you so much for being here and joining me here tonight. Good to have you guys joining me on these things. I do like doing open mics, so thanks so much for that. I look forward to seeing all you guys on the John Campea Show tomorrow. Come on back and join me and Jonathan and Rob. We've already got a few topics lined up for tomorrow. I'm excited about it. Can't wait to see you there. So that'll do it for me for now, guys. Thanks a lot for being here. And until next time, my friends, bye-bye.